Hey guys, Jess with Peek Blue Wreath. No need to adjust your camera. If all you're seeing is white, black, and silver, that's what's going on today. I just wanted to acknowledge that because I know that it might look a little crazy. Well, not crazy, but monochromatic, right? So what we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be starting on two different wreath bases. We're gonna be doing 21-inch mesh. We're gonna be doing 10 poofs on the outside, 10-inch poofs on the outside, 8-inch on the inside. It almost makes enough for two wreath bases. My plan is I'm gonna be making a wreath that's white, silver, and turquoise. And then I kind of figured in the future, I'm gonna be making probably a white on white wreath for a snowman theme. So that's the plan. So we gotta wire up these two frames. We have these 10-inch mesh, item RE130227. This is a silver. They have really pretty threads that are kind of like rainbow reflective. And it is RE130184. So we're gonna be doing that 21-inch mesh all the way around on both of these. Then we're gonna be cutting these to 15-inch lengths, and then it'll leave three 30-inch lengths on each one, which we can use on future projects because I normally use 30 inches. Cut 30-inch cuts on my wreath. Okay, so what I did here before we even start is I took white spray paint and I spray painted these wreath forms. As you can see on the back, they're still dark, the dark green that they normally are. For some reason, white mesh is the hardest to cover the wreath forms in. I've had experience where I use white mesh on the dark green frame and you can still see the frame through the mesh, which is not what we're going for. So to try to conceal that a little bit better, instead of like using an abundance of white mesh, like way more than we normally would, I spray painted these wreath forms white, even though they look a little bit gray, just because maybe I could have done another coat, but I think that'll be enough to help camouflage that dark gray color. I have 18 ties. These ones I cut a little bit shorter like I normally do when I just use ribbon and mesh. I probably should have left them long since I'm going to be using two different kinds of mesh in each tie and ribbons, but I think we'll be okay, and we'll get to that when we get there. So I could have just used regular full-size pipe cleaners, but I think earlier in the fall we did this technique and it turned out just fine with the shorter pipe cleaners. I just know that when we did get to put our ribbons on, it was kind of cutting it a little close, but we were fine, I'm just saying. The hot glue of the embellishments kind of helped to secure those even tighter, I think, so we're good to go on that. So this is a 14-inch frame. I'm just using the 18 ties like I normally do. I do 12 around the outside, 6 around the in. It gives a nice full fluffy wreath. It usually measures about 25 inches wide. Since we are using the two different mesh, it'll even be a little bit bigger than that. Not much. Usually my wreaths are between 24 and 25 inches wide. With both mesh, it will be between 25 and 26, I would say. So not too much bigger. It should still fit in a 24-inch box. It'll just be a little bit cozier, but it'll be just fine. I don't store my wreaths in the boxes. I store them in bags on shelves, so they're not normally like squished into a 24-inch spot. If you did put a wreath into a 24-inch box that was bigger than 24 inches for an extended period of time, it might, you know, misshape it a smidge, but we'll be just fine for this. So this is what it looks like with the 18 ties. We have 2 around these outer rings and then 1 in the middle. That way we don't have to measure it at all. We know that they are equally separated and equal distances apart. These ones you can tell they're the longer pipe cleaners. But either way, it'll be just fine. If we have to go around and cut some at the end, it won't be the end of the world. It's not my favorite thing to do. If you guys have seen, if you've been around here a minute, you know that I like to trim my pipe cleaners right away, but I think we'll be just fine. So like I said, we're gonna be using 21-inch mesh. We're gonna be doing, they're not really bubbles, they're just, what do they call them? I don't know what the technical term is, but we'll be going in between each of the ties and they going 10-inch like They're not bumps, but I'll think of it when I'm working on it, I'm sure. But yes, it'll help it be full and fluffy, and it'll help to incorporate the white and the silver into the color scheme that we're going with. I was able to buy a whole bunch of really pretty turquoise greenery. It's sparkly and shimmery and has like blue and lime green and turquoise glitter on it. It reminds me of, when I first saw it, it reminded me of like a peacock. And I know a lot of people like peacock Christmas. They like that really pretty, luxurious look. And I do have ribbon that is in those tones, but it does have gold in it. So I'm gonna be making this one, not necessarily in the peacock theme, because the peacock ribbon I have does have gold in it, and we're not doing that. But we are gonna be doing like an icy white, silver, and turquoise theme on this one. And then the other one we do, not with this white mesh, but with a gold and purple mesh, a little bit later in the season. We will be doing like a full-on peacock, gold, purple, and turquoise theme. So I think that'll be really pretty. I'm trying to plan out what wreaths I wanna make for the season. I know it's only, you know, not even October yet, but we gotta start planning. So let's cut that 10-inch mesh now. Let me go grab. The best way that I have to help keep your mesh organized, and my table here is not huge, and I can't just have like all my mesh here and then my wreath form here, because then when I turn my wreath form, my mesh will be like flying and falling and all the things. So what I learned that works well for me and best for me with my mesh, after I cut it, I have a laundry bin, kind of not like a basket, but like a laundry hamper. It was one of my, we received baby gifts in it. At my baby shower, but then we never even used the hamper. But it's like large and circular, and it's probably like 3 feet tall. So that's what I like to use to store my mesh once it's cut, and until I'm ready to use it. So it helps keep it off the floor and keep it all organized, and I'm not chasing pieces all over the town. So find what works for you, but if you're looking for something, that's probably a good idea. Here we go. We have our 2 mesh. We're going to be cutting them. We're going to be cutting 18 pieces, 18 15-inch pieces, and then 3 at 30. So we're going to cut our pieces here. I'm trying to decide if I want to cut the 30-inch ones first or the 15 first. Probably 15, because the 30 can be an inch or 2 shorter, and it's not going to be a difference, but the 15, it'll be more noticeable. So I have a rotary blade. It has a safety on it. You know, get what works for you. I do know that a sharp rotary blade helps cut down on frays, so that is what I recommend with that. All right, so we're going to be cutting 15, so I'm going to put it right at that 20 mark, and then I'm going to 5. So we're going to be doing 18, so so we're gonna be adding our 21-inch mesh. Item is RE100227. It's just a basic white. There's no frills about it, no sparkles, no cotton, no nothing, but it'll get the job done. So this is 21-inch mesh, like I said. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna turn it so that it's a side that's naturally facing down. So as you can tell, when mesh is rolled out, like if you could have it facing up like this or down. We want to do down because it'll help kind of keep down the fray. And what you're gonna do, you're just gonna gather it in your hand like this, kind of like a fan, I guess. But you want to have both edges, like this edge here and this edge here, down. Okay, like that. So you kind of want to, because when you make your bubbles or your poofs in your wreath, you're gonna want those edges down because it'll help keep down any type of frays. So what I do is I just fold over that edge, and then I place it down in a tie that has another tie exactly above it, because When we get all the way around the wreath, we're going to be jumping up to the higher level, and we don't want to have to stretch across the wreath because it wastes mesh, okay? So what I do is I hold onto this tie here, I line it up on 10, and then I take my hands over to 20. So it looks like this. And then I lift it up and I put it right down in that tie. You don't have to untwist it or anything like that. You just have to kind of catch it before it slips, and then you're just gonna kind of open up that poof, kind of like that. See? Okay. So then we're gonna try to keep those edges underneath like that, lining up again at 10. I hold the pipe cleaner and make sure that it's not gonna slip across the wreath, because when I do put pressure on this mesh to stretch it out 10 inches, it does kind of pull a little bit. And you don't want your pipe cleaner to like move, obviously. And you don't want it to be like flying across the wreath frame, because then you'll have all these pipe cleaners close together and have to like go into fixin' mode, okay? So there you go. I'm just kind of making sure that those edges are tucked under as I go. That's totally up to you and your preference if you want to do that, if you want to do it when you're done. Some people, you know, to each his own, but I'm just twisting it one time to make sure that it's secure in that tie. I don't need to sit there and twist it a bunch of times because it's gonna just waste my pipe cleaner, and I do need that to be able to put the other 10-inch mesh and the ribbon ties in, or the ribbon tails. So as I said before, we're just putting it down in there, we're twisting it once, we're kind of opening this up to make sure that those edges are still tucked underneath, and then we're moving on to the next one. So it's kind of like you're stretching it out, and then you're bringing it back to the next pipe cleaner. And just twist it one time, because you are going to be putting more stuff on top of it, and it's not going to come loose. It'll be totally fine. So just line it up on the 10, hold on to that pipe cleaner, and stretch it out. What I do is I do have a table here, and I take the mesh and I just put it over the edge of the table, so that way it's not like getting all jumbled up and everything like that. And it's okay if your mesh starts to, like, you can see here that this edge is starting to like come up. Just when you pull out these poofs, just try to tuck that edge of the mesh underneath, and it'll be all right. And then just kind of correct it for your next one. Okay, you just go to 20. And how big you make the poofs is totally up to you. Some people make them at 10 like me, some people make them at 12, some people don't measure them at all. So it's kind of, you learn what works best for you and what outcome you like, and what techniques provide that desired outcome, and just kind of go from there. So here we go. And when you do use like a measuring mat like this, it allows you to make poofs that are the same size. If you don't have a measuring mat, I've seen some people put a ruler underneath to be able to measure them. Some people just, you know, measure it out like with their arm and kind of see, okay, well that looks about right. And that's fine, that's what you want to do too. I just know that I've kind of, after making wreaths a little bit, I've learned what works for me, what provides, like when I do it this way with the 10-inch and measure it out like this, it provides almost 2 wreath bases, and that is economical for me. So that's what I want to do. All right, so we made it all the way around. What I'm doing is I'm carefully untwisting that tie that has that first part in it, and I'm laying this back down on top of it, and then I'm gonna twist it really tightly and open that up, and then we're gonna go straight up to this top layer. Okay, so we're not like stretching it out to 10 inches at this point. We're just going straight up, and then we're going to twist that pipe cleaner one time. Okay, and then on the inside here, we're gonna do 18-inch poofs. So you're just kind of moving the pipe cleaners down, moving the poof down from the outside, still making sure that those edges are tucked underneath. Because what you're doing here is the distance between the ties on the top is less than the distance on the bottom. So since they're closer together, I'm just moving these pipe cleaners on the outside down. It's okay if they're not 10 inches because it doesn't have to travel as far, if that makes sense. So And we are gonna come back around and put 10-inch mesh into each one of these ties. We cut those again to 15-inch lengths because I've learned if you put too much mesh is actually a thing. I always thought, you know, if some is good, more is better, and that is true with some things. But with mesh, sometimes it's not a good thing because you waste money, right? So you want to keep your costs down as much as possible so that you can, you know, give that to the customer, right? You don't want to charge them more than you need to. You want your prices to be competitive, but also if you put too much mesh, the wreath looks like just heavy. Like there's too much mesh. It's like too thick. It's kind of hard to explain, but when I first started making wreaths, that is what I did, and I don't think they looked as good as they do now. Okay, so I made it all the way on the top. I'm untwisting that tie for the top so that I can put this down in there. And then I'm gonna give it a couple ties, and that's where I'm gonna put my bow when I'm all said and done, when everything's all said and done around with that, so that you don't see that extra bulkiness, and it'll actually help the bow to sit up higher. All right, so I made it all the way around. It looks like this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to gather it, making sure I'm not cutting the mesh underneath, I'm not cutting any pipe cleaners, and I'm also not cutting my fingers. Let's all be careful around here. And it leaves you with this like frayed edge like this. So what I do is I open that pipe cleaner back up very carefully, I fold it under, and then I put it down back in that pipe cleaner. And then I twist it probably about 2 times just to make sure that that is not gonna fall out. And when you do put the next layer of mesh down on top of that and the ribbon, it'll help hide it too. So this is why we can't just have this on here, just the 21-inch mesh, because you can see the frame, right? We got space here, we got some things going on, right? And that's not the look we're going for. Even with the ribbon, that would not cover it up enough. So all that these poofs do is it gives something to be in between the bundles of mesh and ribbon. So it's kind of like a filler to help it be more full, okay? So that is where we're at with this now. So now we can go around and we can put in our mesh, our 10-inch mesh, okay? So in this one here, we're gonna be adding the silver. So we have these, they're cut to 15 inches long. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna roll it one time. Normally I roll it a few times, but since it's shorter, I'm just rolling it once, just to hide those frays, and it's gonna give me a smaller bow tie than we normally have, but it's just fine. I'm gonna put this one down in that spot, just so that I remember that that is where I wanna put the bow. So I'm gonna twist it a couple times and tuck it underneath. And there we go, all right? So I did that. We're just gonna tuck these edges underneath. We're gonna do the outside edges first, the outside layer, which is what we normally do. We're just rolling it once or twice, gathering it in the middle like this. Let me move this up a little bit. Hey guys, so that last video cut off and I wasn't able to show you what the wreath looked like with all of the silver mesh attached. And here it is before we add any ribbons, embellishments, or a bow. Nice and full and fluffy with the white and the silver. Let me know what you think about that.